Hi there, I'm Adeline and it's so nice to meet you. Welcome to the 38th Celebrity Synastry chart reading where we will be covering Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planet signs, aspects, and birth times available house overlays. I also add my insights and interpretations along the way. And of course, feel free to leave your own in the comments below. Before we get started, give this video a like and subscribe for more celebrity synastry chart readings every week. Let's get into it. Starting off with the sun, we have Snoop's sun in Libra and Martha's sun in Leo. They are both in love with love, so it doesn't necessarily mean with each other. I know, as far as I know, these two are just friends and on a professional level. But this could mean just as them individuals, they are more romantic in life, which would complement them. They would understand that about each other. Martha is more powerful than Snoop, potentially related to, I believe she is a lot older than Snoop. Woman fulfilling relationship, they share superficial values, potentially related to romanticizing life. Snoop compromises with Martha and Snoop is willing to stand up to Martha. Snoop's sun in Martha's 12th house. They are different people and there is an atmosphere of mystery. Marriage is not possible, which for once in these readings is a good thing. They don't understand each other and they don't know why they are together. So potentially, even if they are not a couple, they could be confused to why they were sort of put together for public purposes, if that makes sense. Snoop finds Martha unpredictable. Snoop sees Martha as exotic and strange, which I feel like does make sense in a strange way because Snoop Dogg does come from that sort of hip-hop background, whereas Martha Stewart, she is very much the sort of like daytime television cook. Very different scenes. Snoop feels Martha doesn't approve of him and relationship requires a lot of patience. So far, it seems like it, yes. Martha's sun in Snoop's 4th house. There's a sense of familiarity. Snoop trusts Martha deeply. Snoop feels secure around Martha. Martha is very protective of Snoop and they are both committed to each other. This is going to be a bit of a weird interpretation. Just with what we've seen, that Snoop, feels very secure around Martha, but also that he feels Martha doesn't approve of him. And also that Martha is protective of Snoop. Potentially, there does seem to be a bit of like a underlying sort of parental figure sort of relationship here. But we'll see more. Maybe this is just a little twinge. Snoop's sun, Sextile Martha's moon. It's an easy friendship and a fulfilling relationship we see again. There's a natural compatibility. They are cooperative with each other. Snoop depends on Martha's support and Martha trusts Snoop's wisdom. So there does seem to be that element of trust here from both ends. Snoop's sun, square Martha's Mercury. Similar problem solving. They don't always see eye to eye as we've seen. There's a lack of emotional satisfaction. We haven't seen anything so far relating to their sort of emotional life. They challenge each other's perspectives and there is a contrast in temperaments and life goals. I mean, definitely with life goals. I mean, one of them is a musician, the other one is a cook, so very different fields, both in the entertainment field, but still very different. They find it difficult to discuss ideas. Martha sees Snoop as too self-centered. Both need to respect the other's differences, and Snoop sees Martha as too rational and emotionally detached. Potentially why there is a lack of emotional satisfaction, maybe it is coming more from Snoop's end, because he feels that Martha is just very detached. Snoop's sun square Martha's Pluto. It's love-hate, we see again, there's a strong magnetic connection. This doesn't necessarily have to be like they're very attracted to each other, but that they just, click very quickly. They want to learn everything about the other and both need to learn not to focus on their ego. I assume this would be definitely when they do partner up together. They don't just focus on their own ego and what it can do for them. Transformative, there are power struggles, which we did see before. Possibility to encourage the other's negative qualities, and they both want to be dominant, potentially what is related to those power struggles. Possibility of an unhealthy obsession with the other. This is a bit weird. So far, this relationship is a bit odd. In terms of when I was going into this, you see Snoop Dogg and Martha do have a bit of a friendship and partnership, professionally. So I was kind of expecting something like that, a lot of work-related aspects, but this relationship seems to be a bit more deeper in terms of, there are power struggles here. They both feel very conflicted about each other. Which is different from what I was expecting going into this. Both experience emotions they never felt before in a relationship. I see this in terms of, especially because they are friends and professional colleagues, that potentially because they have these sort of like power struggles, it is a bit more intense for a friendship colleague type relationship. Martha's Sun squares Snoop's moon. There's a basic misunderstanding and practical disagreements occur. We see again with the misunderstandings. There's general discontent. Snoop sees Martha as too rational and selfish. We see again with her being too rational. Martha sees Snoop as too sensitive, and Snoop may feel resentful towards Martha over time. Martha's Sun squared Snoop's Mercury, so this is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So Snoop sees Martha as too self-centered, and Martha sees Snoop as too rational and emotionally detached. So they both seem to view each other as a bit too rational, emotionally detached. So hopefully we'll see a bit more to see a bit more insight onto us who is actually more rational or detached. Martha's Sun squares Snoop's Venus. Their views on the world clash. I think we did see this before, how they have different views. Not as promising as it looks, so I think this would be relating to, as I was saying before, I expected this reading to be a bit more like, oh, about their friendship, how they're good colleagues and everything, because that's what we see in the media, so I was expecting something like that. But potentially, you know, because we see this, it's not as promising as it looks. It is not actually this, like, sort of very well oiled machine, so to speak. There are troubles here. Love can easily turn into hate. Again, we see with the love-hate, there's arguments over money. I assume this would be between partnerships they do and sort of the financial aspect of that. Martha is selfishly ambitious, and Snoop tries to keep the relationship balanced. I definitely see this because from what we've seen a lot more that Snoop feels Martha is very detached and too rational. So potentially maybe Snoop wants to create like a sort of peaceful atmosphere and sort of that more friendship. But potentially Martha is just very much, this is strictly money-wise I'm here for. Both hope to find what they are looking for in the other. As, yeah, pretty much what I said. My theory on this particular point, as I was saying before, but Martha probably just saw Snoop Dogg as someone she can make lots of money with, and Snoop probably did see the same thing, but also sort of wanted a sort of long-term, you know, professional colleague. Martha's Sun trines Snoop's Jupiter. They will overdo together. They are good travel companions. I'm not sure if they've ever traveled together, but that's their possibility of unpredictability. I believe we see again. Snoop boosts Martha's self-confidence. Both have a desire to make the other happy. That's nice. Snoop gives Martha the benefit of the doubt frequently. He seems to be very lenient towards Martha, not only with this one, but he seems to genuinely want to make peace with her. Martha's Sun sextile Snoop's Uranus. Relationship of freedom. I mean, obviously, they're not really tied down to each other at all. Martha is attracted to Snoop's originality. This could just mean not necessarily attracted to him, but just admires his work and career and everything. They enjoy intellectual conversations together. They both encourage the other to be themselves. Frequent changes occur in the relationship. Again, we see with the unpredictability. Martha finds Snoop to be inspiring and exciting. Martha may feel threatened by Snoop's lack of limits. Relationship works best when they both encourage the other's independence. So this could mean that it is healthy for them to sort of not do a lot of things together, if that makes sense, to potentially have separate projects. I don't believe they are ridiculously tied to each other, but they've had a few projects together. So now it's time for moon. We have Snoop's moon in Scorpio and Martha's moon in Sagittarius. They are opposite emotionally. Martha tries to lighten up Snoop, so trying to cheer him up, which is weird because, you know, she doesn't seem to have that sort of mentality here, but, you know, maybe it's just the beginning. Jealousy and possessiveness. So I assume this would more lead to jealousy of each other's careers, potentially. Snoop finds Martha to be too shallow. We see again, he doesn't seem to think Martha has any depth or like sort of emotional thinking at all. Martha feels the need to take time from Snoop. So we did see before, like, the relationship works best when they are both independent, so clearly space is needed from each other. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. Links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading. Snoop's moon overlaid in Martha's first house. They both feel safe expressing their feelings with each other. Probably on Snoop's part, because Martha so far doesn't seem to be interested in that. Snoop brings out a sensitive Martha, which is nice that I guess he's helping her be less sort of like detached. Snoop feels immediately safe with Martha. We see again, Snoop's an interesting one here, isn't he? Tender and warm relationship. Martha's moon overlaid in Snoop's 8th house. Snoop can go deep into Martha's psyche and he can awaken Martha's inner demons. Yikes. So really, he's not impressed with her emotional detached nature and he's going to try change that. There's a deep connection, definitely for sort of like a friendship and professional colleague relationship. There are some interesting tidbits. Emotionally nurturing relationship. I assume from what we've seen so far, it's really one-sided from Snoop's end. Martha's moon sextile Snoop's Mars. They are open with each other. Snoop feels more assertive here, which is interesting because from what we've seen so far, it seems to be Martha, but we'll see more. Martha helps Snoop be more confident and bold, so we saw this on both ends so far, that they both make each other confident. Mutual fascination, so I would read this as they are both mutually like admiring each other's careers and fascinated by what the other does. Martha feeds into Snoop's ego, which we did see how they need to leave their egos out of this relationship, so that's fun. Both can learn about themselves here. I definitely see that. I think because they are very contrasting characters. I believe Martha is quite a bit older than Snoop as well, so that also plays in to the fact, you know, not only completely different industries, but different ages and everything, and genders as well, like very different people. Can be tumultuous at times. I see that. From what we've seen, that's not really surprising, is it? Martha's moon squares Snoop's Pluto. Jealousy and emotional manipulation is underlying. Again with the jealousy, this is a bit weird. Snoop can sense Martha's unconscious needs and manipulates her with it. Snoop tends to be controlling over Martha. Projection is a challenge. Both need to work for power struggles. We did see the power struggles before, so that makes sense. Deep emotional transformation. I assume this would be mostly on Martha's end. Both may need to work through some psychological demons from the past. And yeah, as I just said, it seems to be more from Martha's end because Snoop seems to be the one that is sort of instigating this sort of emotional revelation in Martha. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Snoop's Mercury in Scorpio and Martha's Mercury in Cancer. These are both water signs. Prioritize their feelings and emotions. Snoop definitely prioritizes the emotions. They are both invested in this relationship. It seems like it. Like, if anything, they do seem to be both, like, involved in each other's lives, even if they do take those frequent breaks from each other. Martha may feel violated. I assume this would be related to Snoop sort of wanting to help Martha emotionally and sort of, like, deepen those emotions within her. Can easily become a paranoid relationship, and the intuition is strong. Martha's Mercury in Snoop's 4th house overlaid. Snoop's emotions are sensitive to Martha's words. He seems to be quite a sensitive, emotional boy here. They both fit well in each other's lives. Snoop can predict what Martha will say. Again, like, he seems to be able to read Martha very well and want to act upon it, if that makes sense. Like, you know, he maybe senses that she's a bit emotionally detached. He wants to help her, you know, get out of that detachment and be in tune with her emotions, if that makes sense. And Snoop is comfortable with Martha, I believe we see again. Snoop's Mercury overlaid in Martha's 12th house. Snoop has a sixth sense with Martha. As I said, like, he seems to read her very well. Snoop's Mercury sextile Martha's Venus. They encourage each other to express themselves, we see again. There's easy communication and they share mutual friends. I wonder where, because they would have had to have, like, met somewhere. Like, all of this would have had to root from somewhere. They're attuned emotionally, definitely Snoop. Enjoy the same movies and music, and they enjoy socializing together. Snoop's Mercury square Martha's Pluto. Frequent intellectual arguments, I believe we see again. Possibly why it is tumultuous, because they do have those arguments. Both may hold on to issues for too long. Snoop is overwhelmed by this dynamic. I can imagine, like, he seems to, I don't want to say he's not doing well, but he seems to be very, like, just, as I said, being able to read Martha so well and be very sort of, like, pick up on a lot of things from her. Potentially he is like that with everyone. I'm not exactly sure. This is the first reading I'm doing with Snoop. But this is the way he is here. Snoop wants to understand Martha deeply, and he feels controlled by Martha. Martha wants to know Snoop's secrets, and she tries to control his thoughts. Weird. So now it's time for Venus. We have Snoop's Venus in Scorpio and Martha's Venus in Virgo. They feel safe together, which we have seen. Despite the odd factors and elements in their relationship, they do seem to feel comfortable and safe together. Martha is receptive to Snoop. Subtle control issues are a problem. This is very odd that they have this weird control issues and possessiveness and everything. They work hard at making the relationship work. Snoop sometimes gives Martha the silent treatment. Again, we're seeing the element that they get separated at times, and they have breaks from each other. Snoop gets Martha's attention by pushing her buttons. Martha's Venus overlaid in Snoop's 5th house. Martha is forgiving of Snoop's faults, and Snoop may take advantage of Martha, which we did see that he senses her, her unconscious needs and manipulates her with it. Why though? We see this is kind of repeating. Snoop appreciates the admiration from Martha, and they are both satisfied here. The Venuses are sextile to each other, so they share similar ideals. They share similar taste in aesthetics, appreciate how the other dresses, handles money and socializes. It's interesting how we see that they have very similar taste in aesthetics, movies and music, because to the public, they are very contrasting. They cooperate on the basic level, and they are at ease in each other's companies. They feel warmly about the other, and they both want to make the other happy. So I feel like the foundation of this does seem to be good. I feel like there are just these weird elements of, like, you know, being a bit controlling of the other. That Snoop's being very intrigued with Martha. Martha's Venus square Snoop's Jupiter. It's a promising relationship. Because we did see how it is not as promising as it looks, so potentially there is a bit of promise here, but I guess it's not as promising as most people think, if that makes sense. Martha feels confident around Snoop. We see again they both feel very confident around each other. Martha's Venus square Snoop's Saturn. Snoop is critical and demanding of Martha. Criticism is rooted from jealousy. We see the jealousy again. This is honestly ridiculous. I don't know if I ever remember seeing this much jealousy in someone's chart, and they're not even like a romantic couple either. Martha sees Snoop as unsympathetic, and Snoop sees Martha as child. So now it's time for Mars. We have Snoop's Mars in Aquarius and Martha's Mars in Aries. These are both masculine signs. Martha gets easily irritated with Snoop. I'm not surprised. And they both have a superiority complex. I mean, we did see that they have the issue with the egos, and I'm not really surprised either. We do see that they both kind of see each other as being a bit inferior to them. Snoop's Mars overlaid in Martha's 4th house. Snoop pushes Martha out of her comfort zone. We see that so many times. Snoop can't provide the peace Martha wants. Interesting, which I do kind of see because he seems to be very about like pushing her out of her comfort zone and sort of wanting her to expand her emotional intelligence, so to speak. Martha is nurturing to Snoop, I believe we see again. Martha creates a safe space for Snoop, and arguments are heated due to being defensive and emotional. So we've seen the argument element again. Martha's Mars overlaid in Snoop's 12th house. Snoop feels uncomfortable around Martha. I assume this would be because of the controlling aspects. Martha brings out a hidden side of Snoop. Relationship formed from having to protect one another. Martha brings out a hidden side of Snoop, which I believe this would be because he seems to be very in tune and be able to read Martha very well. I wonder if this is something he generally has with people, being able to read people very well. Just with Martha, it is very, like, accurate, so to speak. Martha feels drained by Snoop, and Snoop wants to protect Martha. Snoop sees the more fragile part of Martha. We saw how, I'm pretty sure we did see on Snoop's end before, how they both kind of see a different, more sensitive side of each other. Snoop's Mars square Martha's Saturn. Snoop tries to impress Martha. Martha's standards are in conflict with Snoop's efforts. Martha may try to control Snoop as she thinks Snoop is immature. We've been seeing this from both ends, how they both see the others mature, childish. It's really great. Martha's Mars opposite Snoop's Uranus. There are frequent arguments. We see, again, just a lot of nice arguing here. It's a very interesting relationship, very unpredictable, turbulent. Martha needs to learn not to take Snoop's actions personally. I assume this would be relating to when Snoop tries to help her emotionally, potentially. I can't see what else it could be. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, comment pink pile so you can let me know, and please share your thoughts below as well. If you have made it this far, please consider subscribing. I do post these videos weekly. And besides that, give this video a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!